Welcome to the deep dive. We're here to unpack those fascinating sources you send us, looking for the really deep nuggets. And today, we're diving into a text called "The Magic of Not Knowing and the Power of Paying Attention." It's pretty interesting because it pushes back against something we almost take for granted, doesn't it? This idea that knowing more is always better. So our mission really is to explore this kind of radical idea. What if letting go of how we usually define intelligence, naming, labeling, categorizing everything, what if that actually opens up a richer way to experience the world? We tend to think intelligence is about knowing the what, the why, the how of things. But this source is suggesting maybe, just maybe, that locks us down somehow, limits us.
Exactly. And what's so striking is how it challenges those basic assumptions. The text basically says, look, by relying only on that kind of intellectual knowing, yeah, we feel like we're in control, but maybe we're actually missing something deeper, some kind of magic all around us.
Yeah.
It introduces this concept, this magic of not knowing, and suggests it holds, well, immense power, which sounds totally backwards at first.
It really does. The magic of not knowing. I mean, it goes against everything we learn in school, right? Know more, define more. So what does it actually mean, this magic?
Right. And it's important to be clear here. It's absolutely not about being ignorant or, uninformed. That's not the point at all. Instead, it's about kind of letting go of what the text calls the arrogance of thinking that we know everything. It's about cultivating this open, fluid state of awareness, a state where we can experience the world more directly, as it really is, without all those mental filters we usually slap on, preconceptions, judgments, labels. The text gives us a really nice analogy. Imagine you're walking in nature, and instead of thinking, oh, that's an oak tree or that river flows south, you just are. You're feeling the breeze, smelling the earth, hearing the water. In that moment, there's no need to label or define anything. You're just present, being immersed.
Okay, that clicks. It paints a really clear picture.
Yeah.
And here's where it gets even more fascinating for me. The link the text makes between this not knowing and paying attention. It seems like a contradiction, doesn't it? How can letting go of defining things actually make us pay more attention or pay attention more deeply?
Precisely. It's a key point. When we stop the constant labeling, the text argues we tap into something much more profound than just facts. It calls it the living essence of life itself. It's like, imagine you start seeing the underlying connections, the flow between things, instead of just seeing separate objects. Perceiving the universe not just as parts, but as this vast interconnected field of energy, everything moving together in harmony. And this isn't passive observation, mind you. It's described as active, conscious attention, being fully present right here, right now, without trying to force an outcome or pin down the experience with a definition. It's a deliberate choice, really, choosing to absorb, to receive, rather than just analyze.
It makes me think of trying to explain, say, a piece of music you love. You can talk about the instruments, the tempo, the key, but none of that really captures the feeling, the experience of listening to it. Is that kind of what the text is getting at?
That's a perfect parallel, absolutely. The text is essentially saying our labeling is often like dissecting the sheet music, when the real point is to just listen to the symphony, to experience it directly. That immediate, non-analytical experience, that's where the magic is supposed to be. It's about letting the experience unfold, letting it reveal itself, instead of you trying to force it into your existing boxes.
Okay, these benefits sound, well, potentially really transformative. So what are the real-world impacts? The personal benefits for you listening right now, if you cultivate this not knowing and active attention, does it go beyond just feeling more connected to nature? What about, say, making decisions or how we relate to other people?
Well, connecting it to the bigger picture, the benefits are described as profound, really profound. The text suggests when we live more from this state, we start experiencing the world in its purest form. It uses this phrase like tuning into the frequency of love where everything is connected. By dropping that constant need to label and separate, we potentially open ourselves up to the sense of, well, unity, connection. It's like suddenly noticing all the subtle ways everything around us and even inside us is linked up. And that's not just poetic language, It implies a real shift in perception. It could foster genuine empathy, real presence in our interactions. So when we let go of needing to label, control, categorize everything, we return to what the text calls a state of unity. And then it brings in this reference to the sacred Atlantean brotherhood. Within this context, they're presented as this ancient group emphasizing this deep interconnectedness. They talk about realizing that we are not separate from the universe or from each other, that we are one energy, one consciousness. And embracing that truth, the text says, opens ourselves to a world of boundless love, beauty, and possibility. This way of being, it suggests, lets us grasp the deeper laws of the universe, not through book learning, but through direct experience and intuition.
Wow. That's huge. It implies that if you're not slapping labels on people or situations instantly, you approach them with more openness, right? Which allows for more genuine connection, maybe even more creative solutions to problems,
Wow,
because you're
that's
responding to what is right now, not just your pre-existing ideas about it. So it really is about seeing with fresh eyes, kind of peeling back that constant mental commentary.
precisely. It's about that direct, unfiltered perception, allowing us to engage with reality as it is, not just our mental model of it. And this whole philosophy is summed up nicely in words attributed to someone called Grandmaster Waxira
Hmm?
in the text. He apparently says, "True wisdom is not in knowing, but in seeing with open eyes, with no need to label or define, just to experience."
Mm-hmm.
And this is described as the path of spiritual awakening, letting go of that need to control and just allowing the magic of it all to unfold.
Okay, so as we wrap up this deep dive, it feels like the text is really inviting us on a different kind of journey. Not necessarily about gathering more facts, although that has its place, but about allowing ourselves to be truly present, to observe without that instant judgment, that need to label everything. It's about maybe embracing the mystery a bit more, both around us and maybe inside us too.
Yeah, and that leaves a really important question for you to mull over, doesn't it?
Yeah.
How often do you find yourself approaching something, a situation, another person, even just a quiet moment outside, with a label already in hand, with that need to define it immediately? And maybe ask yourself, what might you be missing? What deeper connections, what richer experiences might be passing you by because you're not allowing yourself to just be? To absorb the beauty and complexity of life in that state of unity and possibility the text talks about, something to think about.